What the Tech is sponsored by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform that makes it fast and easy to create a professional website, blog, portfolio, and now an online store. Check out the new commerce solution so you can get started selling your stuff immediately. For a free trial and 10% off your first purchase on a new account, go to squarespace.com/whatthetech and use offer code WhatTheTech3. Shutterstock.com with more than 20 million high-quality stock photos, illustrations, vectors, and video clips for 30% off new accounts. Go to shutterstock.com and use offer code WhatTheTech3. And by Ting, mobile that makes sense. Go to gfq.ting.com and get a $25 credit when signing up.
What the Tech?
Hey everybody, welcome to What the Tech. I'm Andrew Zarin. I'm joined by a very jet-lagged Paul Thurrott on this Friday. We're doing the show on a Friday again for people listening to the podcast. It is the 15th, and Paul is exhausted, so I don't know if he's going to be able to last throughout the next 45 minutes to an hour.
I'll be good.
How you doing, Paul?
Doing okay.
How you feeling? All right?
Yeah. I mean, actually, you probably feel worse than I do. You've been sick for...
Yeah, I'm feeling a lot better. I mean, I'm still a little congested, and you probably could hear it in my voice, but I feel pretty all right.
You sound pretty good. Last week, you sounded sick.
Oh man, last week was bad. I don't remember a thing from last week's show. It could have been all that cough medicine I was drinking throughout the entire thing.
Right.
And I did get that email saying that I'm very irresponsible for drinking it on the air.
Yeah.
And I said, yes, I am. I am very irresponsible.
I don't deny this. Can I help you with anything else?
Yeah. So how was the trip?
It was good. It was tiring. I mean, I don't want to get too much into the travel plan stuff, but I mean, there's something weird that's happened with my travel to Seattle where the once excellent flights are now really, really bad flights. And so I had to fly very late at night.
What did you fly with? What did you fly with?
JetBlue, okay. Which I love. I love JetBlue.
Yeah, but they're not what they were like 10 years ago.
Oh, I disagree. But this is the reason. I live in Boston. So Boston is like their biggest hub. So JetBlue is the airline to fly from Boston. And they now fly direct to everywhere I go. So I go to, I go where? Where do I go all the time? I go to Denver all the time. I go to San Francisco, obviously Seattle, all these, Las Vegas, for trips and so forth. And these things are all direct flights. It's great. But for some reason, the Seattle stuff, the flights have changed over the time. And now you fly in very late at night and arrive. I arrived at where I was staying in my time at like 3 o'clock in the morning. And then when I flew home, I had to fly home on the red eye. They have a red eye on the way back. So
awful.
Not ideal.
Awful.
So I was just kind of tired the whole time.
When you came home, you took a nice nap.
But now I'm doing great.
Now you're fine. You were doing a show now.
Yep.
Yeah, it was an all right week for me. I mean, I'm still recovering, and I have a little bit in my nose area, but I'm feeling much better. Very excited to talk about technology, Paul, as I know you are. I put in new lighting in the studio this week.
I'm sorry. I probably would have eventually.
You didn't notice it?
The way this would have happened is in the middle of the show, I would have blurted out, "Are those lights green?"
They could be whatever color you want, Paul, actually.
Yeah.
If you're watching live, look, I could do this. Look at this thing. Oh, look at that.
It's like when my wife gets a haircut and I don't notice and she gets kind of idgety.
Yeah. It's all right. It's all right. I didn't expect you to remember anyway.
Because that's how you are.
Yeah. I've just gotten used to this, Paul.
Sure.
I'm just used to it. What I am not used to, and here's a great segue, is really crappy tech keynotes. And
okay.
I don't know, Paul. Like I and here's the problem. I watched some of it. I didn't watch the entire Samsung announcement because I was producing a show.
How could you? You would kill yourself.
I was kind of watching and producing a show at the same time, and I didn't understand what was going on. You want to run us like what? Tell us what happened.
All right, so I don't know enough about Broadway to understand what that was supposed to be.
I'm a Broadway expert. I don't know if you know that about me.
Oh, okay. Well, so you were probably quite at home at what we saw.
Yeah,
yesterday,
I was in the original Cats.
Right. I mean, I just, I always think of this. I have to go back to high school, and in high school is probably the first chance that most people have to, try out acting, and they have, you put on plays, and
Yeah.
people do that. And so when the sign goes up for the play, we're going to do, Grease or something, right? Kids who are in high school have one of two possible reactions to that. One is abject horror, and I want nothing to do with that at all,
Sure.
ever. That's me. And then there are some people who go, ooh, that's exactly what I want to do. And that was the cast of the Samsung press conference. It was the weirdest, it's like that.
It was weird.
If you've ever gone to a play or, some kind of a Broadway show, people need to project when they're on stage. And so there's that real over eager, I'm going to over emote everything. I'm in your face and I'm going to go get her. And, and it was all that stuff. And, people, kind of dancing in place. And I hate that stuff.
I'll tell you, it was no Les Mis.
Well, maybe or was it? I don't know. I mean,
I actually, I not surprisingly enough, I actually enjoy Broadway, and Les Mis is one of my favorite things to go see. But I couldn't watch this. Like, there's a lot that I can't watch. Like, I don't like a lot of musicals.
Awful.
Yeah, it was so awful. Rock of Ages is another awful play on Broadway. Awful.
And by the way, I get that some people are kind of into that.
No, I don't think anybody was into this.
Okay.
So they did that weird.
I'm trying to find some positive thing to say about it. Samsung is obviously speaking to a much broader audience than you and I.
Do you think it's the whole like anti-Apple thing? Like, we're not going to do the Apple thing, so we're going to do something
further.
Exactly.
I mean, right. That was the thing. Like, Apple. When Steve Jobs would come out, this like grizzled-looking older guy would come out and drone on and on. He was surprisingly compelling as a speaker. And I mean, for me personally, I would take that over the Samsung thing any day. I mean, like many people, I was entranced by Steve Jobs, This was clearly the anti-Apple event. I mean, my God. It was just insane. It was like an Adam Ant concert or something. I don't know. It was really weird.
What did you think of the actual unveiling of the phone, the actual phone itself, the S4?
Okay, well,
there's a couple issues that I have, but you tell us what you liked and didn't like.
Well, I mean, overall, there's nothing. It's not so much anything that you could dislike. I just think that there's way too many things going on in this phone. I think that Samsung is really overdoing it.
Yeah.
And so that's maybe the one negative thing I guess I could say. But the other thing, though, and this is not Samsung's fault, and this is an issue that Apple has, and certainly they had it when they introduced the iPhone 5, and they'll have it again next year when they introduce the iPhone 5.1 or whatever. We have reached the point where there isn't really a lot we can do now with this stuff that's surprising in any way, shape, or form. And so faster processor, higher res screen, bigger screen, more megapixels on the camera, latest version of the OS, weird sensors. Like for some reason, this thing needs to be a barometer. I can't just open my eyes and see what the weather looks like, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, these are not, super compelling. They're just obvious, like obviously this is going to happen over time. Similar to when Apple released the iPhone 5 and it was like, well, it has a higher res screen. And it was somewhat interesting the way they decided to go about it by basically just shooting it up a little bit in the vertical. And they had their explanations for why they would do that, but not surprising. It looks a lot like the iPhone 4S and the iPhone 4, same basic form factor. And so when you're used to huge changes from phone to phone or from year to year, when these things happen, it's like, even though it's a really good upgrade, you're
used to it. It's numbing.
It's less interesting. It is numbing. Yes. And by the way, I know people who have obviously Galaxy S3s, but also Galaxy S2s. And you look at the screen on this thing and it's like, yeah, it's an Android phone. There's nothing super different about it, Again, not their fault.
I've kind of come to that point where every Android phone looks the same to me, and every Android phone feels the same to me.
Yeah.
Like I have the Galaxy Note 2 here, which is gigantic, huge.
Right.
But it's good. Like, there's nothing bad that I have to say about this that I haven't about Android. So right. I'm holding my bias, thought about Android out of this, and I'm like, okay, well, I got a Nexus Galaxy Nexus here that's 2 years old, and I have this brand new.
That's, by the way,
Note.
yes, exactly.
And it's the same exact experience on both these phones. I can't say that this 2-year-old phone has a worse experience using it than a brand new phone.
I have seen that exact same thing, and with those exact same phones. My son has that phone, the old Galaxy Nexus. I have the new Nexus 4. My wife has that Note 2. And exactly, yes. When you look, he turned on his phone the other day, and I thought, wait, does he have my phone?
It's the same thing.
It's the same phone. It's not really the same phone, but I mean, they're very close.
Very close. I mean, the difference is in the evolution of Android itself over the last 2 years. When you pick one up, you pick up another one. It's the same exact thing. Like with the iPhone 2, it's like that all across the board now with every phone that's coming out. But the only
fear I have, though, is, if you love technology, and we all kind of go from news cycle to news cycle, and we're always very excited about the next big thing, whatever it may be, Samsung, Apple, even Microsoft occasionally. I feel like we've hit a wall in a way about what can happen next. There's the craziness of all the Windows 8 devices, the transforming crazy hybrid machines. Apple, I don't know.
Well, it seems like we've hit a wall. We've hit a wall because we can't take these risks that we did in 2007, 2008 with these phones.
It's not so much we can't; it's the companies can't. Because
I'm saying that as a company. Yeah, I'm talking as a company. Like they can't say, you know what, we're going to scrap everything that we're doing, even if it's working. We're going to scrap it and come up with a new, totally different design. I mean, we're not going to see that anymore.
No.
Windows Phone is probably the last phone that we'll see that has a dramatic and drastic difference from the previous version of whatever their mobile platform was.
But even that, I made this case on Windows Weekly this week. Windows Phone doesn't do well in the marketplace, and of all the crazy Hail Mary pass type things you might do to rescue this platform, I mean, what if Microsoft just adopted Android and put the Windows Phone UX on top of it, but it could run Android apps, and they could write APIs very easily that would allow you to expose information on live tiles from Android apps. That's not a deep technological achievement, what I just described.
But realistically, that'll never happen.
No, but this is the thing when I talk about how easy it would be for Apple to change the UI on their phone, which is the most antiquated part of it. These things are not hard to imagine. That's the point. I don't think there's a giant change coming in this stuff for a while. I just can't see it.
Look at the list of things. Look at the list of things that they've kind of put on this, and this is the Samsung add-on, right?
Try to pick out the ones that actually surprise you in any way.
Okay, so I'm gonna go down the spec. It's a 5-inch phone. I think it's a little too big.
Yep.
441 ppi, so it's a Retina display. So 1.9 gigahertz quad-core processor, and I believe in Europe it's a 1.6 gigahertz octa-core processor. They wrote octa. Should it be octo? Is it octa or octo?
I don't think it matters.
I don't know. Version 4.2.2, and again, here's my issue with that because Google I/O is in about in a month and a half, and they're going to unveil the next version of Android. Rear-facing camera, 13 megapixel camera, autofocus camera, flash, 0 shutter lag. Pretty cool. I like the 0 shutter lag. Front-facing camera is a 2 megapixel camera, full HD recording at 30 frames a second, 0 shutter lag. What is BIS? Don't know what BIS is. Someone in the chat room could tell me. So codecs, we don't need to know about that. Camera features, dual camera, dual shot recording. So that's actually a cool feature that I liked, where if I'm taking a picture,
this is the picture-in-picture thing, basically.
Yeah,
right?
So like it takes a picture of me and it takes a picture of you and puts me in your picture. I don't know how well it'll work.
Yeah, I'm not.
Okay, cool. They have drama shot, sound, and shot. So with pictures, there are sound effects or sound clips from, I guess, the time you were taking that.
Yep.
Best photo, best face. So you could, take people out of photos and change the face. Beauty face HDR technology, blah, blah, blah. So now we're getting into the Samsung custom stuff that they add to their phones. Story album, S translator, optical reader, Samsung smart scroll, smart center pause, air gesturing. This is bizarre. Air gesturing.
I don't know about this stuff. So
you know where air gesturing is cool? If I have a laptop in front of me, and I don't know if you guys can see this. So this is my hand distance from the laptop. I could just go like this, and it'll scroll, or I could just do pinch and zoom.
You and I both do that by mistake all the time.
I do.
So in other words, we could be sitting here gesticulating as we talk. How does it know I intended to do a gesture?
Yeah, that's interesting, right?
I don't know. This stuff is worrying. You know, the what's it called? If I can find it here. Jeez, this list is so huge. It's hard to find.
But Paul,
stuff.
I mean, when you have your phone, I'm going to hold it up here. So if I have my phone here, what is the difference if I do this or if I actually touch my screen? I don't understand that.
Right.
Because you're literally half an inch off the screen anyway.
Maybe this will please the people that don't want fingerprints on their screens.
Maybe someone like me will be really happy because I hate smudges. You want to hear something funny? My wife's Lenovo with Windows 8 has finger smudges all over it because her mind automatically thinks it's a touch screen.
Of course.
And I looked at her screen the other day and I go, "What are you doing to this?" She's like, "You're going to think I'm really stupid." I'm like, "Why?" She goes, "I keep going to scroll the screen."
Why are your fingers so dirty?
Yeah, why? And that's what I said. I'm like, what are you eating? Story album S translate. I said that. Samsung Hub Chat On, which is their video call-in. It's like FaceTime. Samsung Watch On. I'm not familiar with that. Samsung S Travel.
I have no idea what half of this stuff is. I mean,
S Travel, which
this
is
the type of stuff.
TripAdvisor.
Like if this came on a PC, I would delete it immediately.
S Voice, Drive, S Health, Samsung Adapt Display, Samsung Adapt Sound, Auto Adjust Sensitivity, Samsung Knox, I don't know what that is, Samsung Assistance, Samsung Links, Screen Mirroring. I mean, there's a lot of crap on this. And I saw some people were saying like, wow, this is so cool. They're really adding so much to it. And all I'm thinking is this is bloatware.
Yep. The funny thing is I would have argued, and I think I did as recently as, yesterday, that before this announcement, the Samsung improvements, such as they are to Android, made their version of Android a better version of Android. But now it's like, it seems like they've gone overboard here.
I don't know. Do you think that? I mean, I had this discussion with someone else, and I was talking about how I like the pure Android experience. If that is probably the best thing that I like about Android phones is that I have the option of getting a pure Android experience. And a friend of mine has a Galaxy S3, and he was telling me how much he loves some of these Samsung things.
Well, I think that's the issue. So Samsung's phones are obviously the best-selling phones in the world. And they are, I presume that part of the deal isn't just because people want the hardware. I mean, Samsung must perceive there's some value to adding this software. I don't know.
You know what? I'm going to ask the chat room. People in the chat. Do you prefer having the Samsung add-ons or even like the HTC add-ons to Android, or would you rather want a pure Android experience? And you kind of decide what kind of apps you want to get, because every one of these apps that Samsung is putting in here is readily available in the App Store. In some other form. I mean, it doesn't have to be the Samsung thing. You could get it wherever you want it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I obviously the Samsung hardware is very interesting, as any brand new phone with next gen hardware features would be. It's interesting to me that I wonder if there aren't ROMs out there where you could just take this thing and
you can. Yeah, there are. It exists.
That'd be interesting.
I mean, I could pretty much put all this stuff. I could have the Samsung experience on this phone.
No, I meant the other way. Like buy a Samsung phone and have a pure Google experience.
Oh, yeah. That's 100%. But even if I wanted, because this is a Samsung phone, what I have here, even if I wanted to, I could put the Samsung stuff on this. I could just get a ROM and have like the Samsung Galaxy experience on this phone. I don't know why anybody would do that, but
yeah, I was just.
But you know this is fascinating because now to me this feels so much like the PC market like 10 years ago.
Oh, totally.
I mean, it's really become that where you're getting these, it's dirt cheap.
Yep.
But you're going to spend about 3 hours uninstalling crap on the laptop. Unfortunately, with this, you can't uninstall some of these apps.
Right. Which is the difference between this and the PC.
Yeah.
And that's always been the case with phones, although, by the way, not a Windows phone, not an iPhone either, I guess. where the carrier and or the hardware maker can put apps on there. Like Verizon does this a lot, where there's apps that are on there you just can't delete. That is so consumer unfriendly.
I'm looking at the chat. People saying that this is actually a good point. Someone has 5659 in the chat says people see a bigger screen and they see megapixel counts and they want it automatically. And I mean, they see 13 megapixel, but to me that means nothing. What does that mean? It means absolutely nothing. I don't need 13 megapixel. You know what I would rather want? A better sensor that takes 5 megapixel photos.
That takes awesome 5 megapixel.
Awesome 5 megapixel photos. I mean, I
might be able to. Yeah.
It's a gimmick. Like it's
only a gimmick if the photos aren't better too, right? So
do you think they're going to be great? I mean, do you think they're going to be iPhone 5 level?
13 megapixels is bigger than 8. It's not necessarily better. So that's the trick. We need to figure out whether the optics of this camera are better as well. That's important. The camera quality, the camera resolution could stay at 8 megapixels forever, for all I care. It's the quality that needs to go up. But, this thing reads like it would. I mean, in other words, you can look at this spec list right here and say, okay, let's pretend that this is what phones look like today. What does a phone look like in 2014? And you just bump it all up. You could be like, oh, it's a 2.5 16-core processor, and it's going to have Android 5.1, and it's going to be an 18 megapixel camera. And, it's like this thing just reads like, let's bump up everything by 30%.
Yeah. I mean, but again, your question was pretty interesting early on. What do we do next that's actually going to be interesting and innovative? Yeah, because we've kind of done it all now, right?
I don't think we can. I mean, I think this is this market, right? Apple, the way that Apple was successful the past decade is they always went on to the next thing. They did the iPod, they did like the touchscreen, iPhone, they did, the iPad. They kind of, went from thing to thing.
But Apple also had a market. They had one market that nobody came close to, and that was the MP3 player market. Nobody touched them.
Right, but as of today, that is their smallest market of their products, the smallest, amount of revenues or whatever. And the iPhone is the biggest business. It's one of the biggest businesses ever created. And the iPhone is not the newest thing, obviously, there. So these things all kind of have a curve. They still sell millions of iPods. The iPod is 12 years old. The iPhone is now, 6 years old?
2007, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah, 6 years old, yeah.
The iPad is 2 or 3 years old, 3 years old.
And it's been the same for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
The iPhone.
But that's what happens when you have a volume market, Apple has always been able to move from thing to thing, but now they have like hundreds of millions of users of these things. It's a different story. This is the problem Microsoft has. It's very hard to move forward quickly when you have to bring so many people with you. I think because those people are going to resist change.
For someone like Apple, I think now their thing is going to be adding integration into everything that they're doing. Mm-hmm. Making integration a little bit more seamless than it has in the past. That's what everyone should
be doing. These companies should all be doing this.
No, but I'm saying that's really the only thing they could really concentrate on to kind of do better. I mean, yeah, okay, they got their cameras, which they're known for, and they're going to improve that, obviously. But what is the other thing that's going to separate? If we take the Samsung S4 and we take an iPhone 5, what separates the two, really?
Well, I mean,
why would you buy one over the other?
One is a carefully curated art piece, which is going to appeal to a very, very huge crowd of people. And the other one is like this crazy Wild West PC where you can do anything you want to it. And that's going to appeal to a very large crowd of people too. So.
But the average user, the average consumer, I mean, you take these two phones next to each other and you say, okay, which one do you want? Why would one pick the iPhone over
we all have different aesthetic. I mean, you could put a MacBook Pro next to a Windows laptop and say, well, which one do you want? It's some people can make a decision just based on how they look, but you need to know more about those things. When you tell the person that the Windows one costs like half of the other one, there's a huge percentage of people that will end the conversation right there and move on. There are some people who will say, I need to know more still. And then you have those kind of conversations. The phone, you don't just hold the phone up next to the other one and say, which one do you want? Although some people will point to one of the two and say, I'm done.
Yeah.
Some people do think like that, but some people need more information.
Very interesting. We're going to continue this discussion, Paul, as we like doing, because there's a lot to talk about. We also want to talk about all the services that Google shut down this week. including
Yes.
Google Reader, which I'm the only person apparently on the planet that doesn't use an RSS reader, and I'm
Right.
going to be called an idiot, but I'm going to wait for that because we have to talk about Squarespace. The fast and easy way to create a professional website, blog, portfolio, and now, guys, an online store. This is a huge, huge, huge plus for anybody that's starting to get into e-commerce. I have many friends that have been laid off from their jobs over the last couple months, and they're looking to become entrepreneurs, and they're looking to start their own businesses. And I have a friend that makes jewelry. Very nice stuff. That was my phone. It just whistled at me. Huh. She makes jewelry, and she was asking me, can you make me a website that I could sell this stuff? And, you know, I do some web work on the side, and Suncast in our chat room is a web designer. And I presented it to him, and he goes, you know, Andrew, this is going to be a lot of work for us to do. We have to create, you know, pretty much an e-commerce site that's secure, can take credit cards. They're going to be able to do returns, and they're going to be able to do, you know, gift certificates and all this crazy stuff. And the management on this thing is going to be a real pain in the butt. But now Squarespace is offering e-commerce where you could do all of this. It integrates into every Squarespace website, regardless of what you want it to look like. You could sell physical goods and digital goods like MP3s, ebooks, whatever else that you want to do. Fast merchant account setup that could accept payments right there, credit or debit card, single interface order management, track orders, provide customer emails, print shipping labels, all that stuff. And it just starts at $24 a month. So if you're looking to start an online store, this is a phenomenal way to get the job done very easily, which is very difficult with e-commerce, trust me. And it's a trusted name, so you don't have to worry about security with the website. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff. Upgrading is easy with Squarespace, as I tell you guys every week. Plus, it has social media integration, so you're going to be able to promote your things very easily. If you go to squarespace.com/whatthetech and use offer code whatthetech3, you sign up for your free trial and get 10% off your first purchase on a new account. This is phenomenal. I'm very excited to be talking about the e-commerce stuff because I get asked this question all the time about what's a great e-commerce, easy-to-use platform for someone that's looking to put their stuff online to sell it. This is the way to do it. Squarespace.com/whatthetech and use offer code whatthetech3 and get 10% off your first purchase. I want to thank Squarespace for supporting What the Tech. Thank you, Squarespace. That is cool, though, huh? Very easy to use. Very excited. Paul's going to start selling stuff now on
I was
Squarespace.
gonna say, I'm not going to be able to use that for a while since I'm giving everything
What are we
away.
selling? What are we selling, Paul? If you could
What are
sell
we selling?
something. Rocks. Paul's going to go to the
Rocks.
beach, pick rocks, and then you could buy a personalized rock. He'll draw a smiley face on him. You could have a pet rock on your... You know,
might
people
need
would
to-
probably buy that.
We might need to think that one through.
No, I think people would buy it. And it is gel in my hair, not mousse. I don't use mousse. I want to talk about the Google services. So you use Google Reader, and that's how
I
you
do.
get your news.
From YouTube a bit because
Sarah
What was
Lane.
that?
Sarah Lane. I don't know. That's weird. Twitch just opened up. I didn't even do anything. I think Leo's sabotaging me.
So, yeah, I have different ways of receiving news, but actually 3 of them are from Google, and so I get Google alerts via email for different, technology products and so forth. I use Google News, which I've customized with the companies that I follow, and I use Google Reader, and I rely on these things every single day. This is a big part of how I collect news, just find out what's going on. So Google Reader is a tough one. My Google Reader RSS feeds date back, 10 years maybe?
Wow.
A long time.
Wow.
Long-
How do you think this is going to affect many websites?
Yeah, I think what's going to happen is other companies are going to come in and fill the holes there. But this one's going to be tough for me personally because I use Windows obviously, and I use Windows Phone, and the Google Reader mobile experience works really well on Windows Phone, as it does on Android and iOS as well, obviously. So people have recommended different services to me, and there are Chrome extensions and different ways you can do this. If you use Outlook, you can get RSS feeds through there. But I don't know. This is one of those things. Like I'm a little set in my ways. I really like the way that I collect this stuff now, and I'm not necessarily all that excited about it. Now, the good news is they're not switching over to July, right? So we have a couple of months to figure it out.
What are you going to do with, where are you going to move over? I mean, have you thought about it?
I have, but I wouldn't pick anything I've seen yet. So I'm waiting to see how it goes. I know Dig's working on something, and I think because Google is allowing people to export this information, people are going to write utilities that will let you import that, into their own services.
Yeah.
And so I'll probably look at a bunch of different things over time.
Feedly, right?
Feedly is one I'm looking at,
Yeah.
but it's tough because it's like anything else. Like we talk about all these digital media ecosystems and how they only work on certain platforms. And I really like the Amazon stuff, but they don't have native clients for Windows Phone.
I find it interesting that Google's saying that like RSS is not important anymore, and nobody's using RSS anymore.
Okay, but I think honestly, in the mainstream world, it's not. That's true.
No, I don't. I mean, I don't think they ever used it though. I don't think the mainstream ever followed RSS.
Oh, maybe that's true. Okay, I'm not. This is a selfish thing for me. I really don't care what other people do. I use this thing every day and I love it. And so for me, yeah, I'd like to have it stick around. I don't understand what the overhead is for this. I just don't get it.
Probably nothing.
I know. I don't understand why they even have to kill it, but
I mean, they started this last year, and I'm surprised FeedBurner is still alive.
Right.
I mean, FeedBurner's surviving all of these cuts that they've been doing, and FeedBurner is one of the ones that podcasters have been using for years,
Sure.
and I'm assuming hundreds and thousands of people are using FeedBurner to submit their podcast to iTunes or to Windows Phone, and they haven't cut it yet, but they have killed support. There's no more support for FeedBurner, and I never thought I would see Google Reader shut down before FeedBurner does. So these are weird moves they're making.
Well, Google, they've been very aggressive about trying to get rid of services that are kind of, C-team type stuff. I mean, so it makes sense in the scheme of things when, the past year or so, Google's been getting rid of non-essential services. We've talked about this. I mean, they have way too much stuff.
I mean, Google Wave, Google Buzz. Wave and Buzz were weird.
Yeah, but those are very high-profile services at the time. Google Reader is something that I just don't really think there's a lot of people using it.
So what are you thinking about using now?
Usenet.
Usenet?
No, I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I don't have anything. I can't. There is nothing I can actually recommend. I would say for normal people, I would say the apex of RSS for normal people were those applications like Flipboard.
Yeah.
That would have really beautiful, magazine or newspaper style layouts.
Well, they told people go use Google Current if you want to use an RSS, and I guess that's there.
Killed. Yeah, let's just wait for that one to get killed in 3 months.
I mean, it's just weird to me because I've never used Google Reader for RSS. I've never really been one of these people that used RSS. Like I have my websites that I go to, and those are the websites that I visit. And if I stumble on something on like Reddit. Like that's when I go to another website for like news. I go to the technology section and I'll read up what's happening on Reddit.
I may find that just browsing Google News every day is enough. Maybe I'll add like Bing News or something. I don't know. I don't. Right now, I just feel a deep sense of loss.
A lot of Google stories this week, huh?
Yeah,
it's all about Google. Google I/O is in May, and the rumors are already starting about what they're going to unveil. Some of the rumors are Android 5.0 Keyline Pi, a Nexus 7.7 tablet, Motorola to become the flagship Google phone, which kind of makes sense, right? Considering they now own them. Let's talk
what I'm
about.
Looking forward though is I added a little note there. I just wanted to throw this in there. Andy Rubin stepped down as the head of Android.
Android, yeah.
And Andy Rubin being the guy that started the company that was Android that was bought by Google and has been running Android for Google ever since.
Where is he going now?
He's staying with Google.
He is.
Which is really odd,
Yeah.
Kind of an unspecified position at this point. The guy that was running the Chrome OS, and Google Apps stuff, Sundar, I can't think of his last name, I'm sorry, is now going to run both Android and Chrome.
Okay.
And people have been speculating that Android would be subsumed into Chrome, which makes no sense to me. And what I'm going to be looking forward to at Google I/O is the opposite.
Yeah, shouldn't it be the opposite?
Yes, absolutely should be the opposite.
Yeah, because this is a weird time for them, and then I guess they're shifting. I mean, unless they're thinking, well, this is stupid that we have these two separate platforms, we should combine them together, combine the project together, and kind of concentrate on one, which I'd be really happy with if it's all Android based.
It needs to be all Android based.
But they could do so much with it. I mean, Android is so flexible. I don't get why they don't run these Chromebooks with Android, and you could have.
I think they will. They have to. I mean,
it's so weird.
Now they have a touch-based Chrome system.
Yeah.
You could imagine that would be pretty good for running Android apps.
So some of the rumors with the other one is the Nexus 7.7 tablet, which they're going to have to do something with that. It's been over a year now.
Like a Retina display Nexus 7.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I think they're going to have to make it a little bit bigger. They're going to put high-res display on that thing. And they're probably going to give away music with it. They're going to be like, here's $50 in music that you could download from the Play Store. Because that's what they did last time. They gave away, I think, like $50.
Okay, I thought that was kind of an odd thing to add.
That's what they did last time with it.
Okay.
Motorola has become the flagship phone. I'm surprised this has not happened yet.
Well, they need to play nice with their partners, right?
Yeah, but I mean, but what are they using Motorola Mobility for then?
Patents?
Yeah, I guess just for the patents, but
I mean, are any of the new Motorola phones really very interesting? Is there a single Motorola phone out there right now that offers some incredible advantage over any other phone?
No, and see, that's the problem. That's what I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't get it.
It's almost like they took them, but now because I'm the coach and you're my kid, I'm going to bench you. You're not going to get to play because people are going to say that I'm giving you special treatment if I put you in the game.
Right.
That's a weird move.
I like the idea. The Nexus devices I like, right? I like the pure Google experience. I think that's smart. And this is another instance. It's sort of like Google Reader where those aren't the phones that people are buying, in massive numbers. Although actually the Nexus 7 tablet is obviously a different story. So maybe I should tone that one down a bit. But, the Nexus 10, I don't think it's taken off in any huge way. But regardless, I think it's smart of them to have pure devices. I think it's really smart for them to push that, even if they're not market leaders.
Why do you think the Nexus 10 did not take off like the Nexus 7 or even like an iPad?
I think because by the time it came out, interest in the bigger tablets kind of waned. That all of the action in tablets today is the 7-8 inch form factor.
It is interesting how, or maybe, maybe that the 10-inch market is just for the iPad.
Yeah,
I mean, once you get a little closer,
established.
Yeah, and once you get closer to that $400 price point, it kind of gets kind of difficult to compare the two. Like we said, you have an iPad and you have a Nexus next to it, and you go pick one. Which one are you going to pick? I guarantee people are going to pick the iPad.
On this trip I just went on, coincidentally, I took the full size Amazon tablet, which is like an 8.9 inch. Kindle Fire HD, and I just brought it to watch movies on, and it was fine for that kind of thing. But I would never consider using that device with a keyboard or trying to get work done on it. I suppose there's someone out there who may do something like that.
Would you consider it on an iPad?
Yeah.
Yep.
But
why? See,
I can't put my finger on it. Apple obviously makes a keyboard.
I mean, it's refinement, right, of the OS.
Yeah.
I think it really comes down to that.
Refinement of all of it, the hardware and the OS,
I really enjoy Android. Let me say that again.
Yeah.
I really enjoy some aspects of Android. I really think they're doing a much better job with Google Now than Apple is with Siri. And it really makes Siri look archaic when you're using the two.
Right.
Considering it's a brand new platform for them, I really think Google does a phenomenal job at that. I think they also do a very good job at integration. But I feel when it comes to the actual functionality of the OS, it is still missing something. It's the same argument you have with the Kindle Fire. I can't see myself hooking up a keyboard and typing away on an Android tablet, but I could do that on an iPad if I had to. And do I feel that way because I'm familiar with the iPad and that I use it more than my Android devices? Or is it the actual fundamental operating system that's kind of working for me?
Right.
It's interesting. Like, I feel more comfortable in reality. I feel more comfortable taking a Surface, hooking up a keyboard and typing away on that
Yeah.
Why do I feel comfortable with that? Because I know the operating system. It's familiar to me. It feels right.
It's also from the people that give you productivity. That you sort of approach it knowing that this is going to work. And I think that's the thing with the Kindle Fire I was just talking about. That is a consumption device. It is designed to watch movies, to read books, to listen to music. That is all it does. It's not all it does, but that's its primary use. Amazon is not the company you go to for office productivity solutions or whatever.
Yeah, listen.
Maybe Android suffers generally from that same kind of issue.
What would you like? What would you like to see in 5.0
on Android?
Yeah. See,
I think that Android, the OS, suffers from the same problem that the devices do, where there aren't big leaps coming. It's funny. Recent shows we've been talking about the iPhone a lot, and the next version of the OS, and how Johnny Ives is now responsible for the software, and this is interesting. And the reason it's interesting is because that is a place where a company can make a big difference. That the iPhone UI has gotten so archaic that it's become uninteresting, but there's a chance for it to have that big leap. And when you look at Android, to me, it feels like it's in a pretty good place right now. And just like the devices, I have all these stupid phones and tablets and things, and they're all kind of the same or similar. And there aren't huge places to go from here.
There is not one Android device that I look at and say, wow, that is a beautiful device.
Right.
And
well, okay, hold on.
I don't have that.
I think one of the things I like about the Samsung devices aesthetically is they have that cover that you can put over the screen that attaches to the back. It's actually a back plus a cover is how it works, I guess.
Okay.
I think that people look at that, and it's got kind of a classy look to it. It's weird to me that Apple, with their smart covers for iPads, have never done that for the iPhone. It seems so obvious because people love that. It's a...
Do they?
It's a way
it's funny because
Yes.
I didn't get it with this phone that AT&T sent over. I didn't get
see
the
these
cover.
things all the time. If you go on the subway or whatever, you'll see these Samsung covers all the time. And it gives you a chance not to just, protect the screen, which is pragmatic, but to customize it with a color or a material or whatever that you like. I actually think stuff like that is very important. It's not, it's not like the next gen phone of the future. It's just a way to differentiate today. The sad part about the iPhone is, for all the beauty of the device, the thing is so fragile that people often encase it in lucite, essentially.
Yeah.
To protect it. And they turned it into this thing that's like twice as thick and twice as heavy. Because they're so afraid of breaking it.
Coco, that does the free for all, the Friday show with me, he got an iPhone and he has this hideous case on the thing. I think it's the OtterBox. Have you seen that thing?
Yeah.
It's literally like Legos that you're snapping together to hold this thing together. So he has this hideous case on his phone. And
you can throw it on the ground, it'll be fine.
Well, here's the problem with that. I asked him, I'm like, how much did you pay for this? She goes, I got it for $20 on Amazon. I looked at it. It's a counterfeit. So I turned. I'm like, not only did you buy this hideous case on your phone, and you've made the case look like you're ready to dunk it into acid, it doesn't even function the way it's supposed to because it's a fake case. If you drop this thing, it's still gonna break. I don't understand that. I don't. I understand. Listen, protecting what you have, but if you're that concerned with the fact that you may drop and break this thing, right? Maybe you should be a little bit more careful. That's all I'm saying.
Maybe you should just buy a different phone.
Maybe you should just buy, I don't know, what is that? The Caterpillar phone.
Yeah.
It's like covered in rubber. The thing bounces 20 feet in the air. I don't know. When it comes to Android, there's still something missing for me. And I use an Android phone daily. That is my everyday phone.
Missing from a software perspective?
Software-wise, yeah. Hardware is easy to fix at this point. I don't think anybody's missing anything with hardware other than, having an iPhone camera in there. But I'm starting to realize that is not a realistic thing for who knows what reason.
A good camera?
Yeah, like I've given up. I've given up on that.
Well, no, there are good cameras. I mean, obviously the iPhone 5 camera is great, and the Lumia 900 camera is great. Not quite as great as the iPhone 5 camera, but it's almost right there.
But you know what, Paul? Why? We had this discussion a couple of weeks ago. If I was Samsung, or you know what? If I'm HTC, because they're falling behind at this point. You know what I would do? I would sit there and say, you know what I want to do? I want to have the best camera on any kind of phone that's ever been made. I want to put everything goes into the camera, and that's how we sell it. This is the phone for the photographer.
But that's not a phone for a photographer. It's a camera. You know, like they have like cameras that have Android built into them. There's like the PureView Nokia thing, which is a ridiculous phone, but it's a camera wrapped inside of a phone, I guess.
But why wouldn't they? But I don't understand why even Samsung, like even this camera on the Galaxy Note, I mean, this thing is big enough to have a larger sensor in there, and you could do a lot with it. The camera's still not great. I mean, it's okay. It's good.
I don't know. I think that's a good camera, although the S3 camera is very good. I assume the S4 camera is going to be very good.
Not as good as the iPhone, though. The S3 is not as good as the iPhone. There's no excuse why it shouldn't be.
It still is the bar. It's amazing. And the iPhone is so thin, I don't understand how no one else is able to duplicate
Apple magic. They sprinkle the magic seeds on there, and then they hope for the best.
If that matters to you, I mean, if the camera matters to you, and it should, that's a good reason to buy an iPhone.
Yeah. No, it definitely is. Definitely is. I don't know, Paul. Interesting. I want to take a little break and talk about our other sponsor, and that's Shutterstock. If you're a photographer, if you're a web designer, if you're designing pamphlets, or you're looking to put together a video packet, we do a lot of video editing here, and we have to sometimes go and purchase video clips, royalty-free stock videos to put into our videos. And there's no place better than Shutterstock because they kind of do it a little bit different than other people with the way that you purchase packages with them. And they have over 20 million stock photos, illustrations, vector files, and videos to choose from. We have an account. We use it on a regular basis. My wife, when she created a website, she used Shutterstock. I didn't even know she used them because it was so easy to purchase. And you could sign up for these packages where you buy a couple photos. You don't have to buy per photo. You could actually buy a package in, and you have unlimited access of the entire website, which is great. And when you have 20 million photos and videos to choose from, of course, you're going to find something. On top of that, they're also adding 10,000 images every single day. So every time you visit the website, they're going to find something new. John, our editor, we're looking to add video opens to a lot of our shows. And he went on Shutterstock, and he's just going through, and he's sending me these examples. He's like, hey, do you want to use this? Do you want to use that? And we're finding stuff that we actually want to use. So it's amazing that the service is out there, really reliable, really great stuff. And they're offering you guys a great discount. If you open up a new account and use offer code WhatTheTech3, you get 30% off whatever you're buying, whatever package you're getting, that's a significant deal, 30%. We're not talking chump change here. We're talking a big discount. Shutterstock.com is a website. Offer code WhatTheTech3, and you get 30% off your new account. I'm looking here. I wonder if they also have... I'm just going to go to the website. I'm going to go on footage. I'm going to put in tech. Let's see what they have here. Tech. And yeah, they have I was wondering if they just have like stock, like graphic open, animated opens. And they do have animated opens. So that's phenomenal too. And it's all HD, so that's even better. Shutterstock.com, 30% off your new account if you use offer code WhatTheTech3. And I want to thank Shutterstock for supporting What the Tech. Hey, Paul, quick question for you.
Yes,
I got some numbers on the Surface sales.
Yes.
And I saw two numbers here. One was 400,000 Surface Pros, and the other one is 1.5 million Surface.
Yeah, so it's 1.1 million Surface RT plus 400,000
for the Pro.
Surface Pro, yeah.
Those are significant numbers, right?
In some ways.
Okay.
So 400,000 PCs in 1 month of one model is great. So the Pro, I think, is off to a great start. The 1.1 million figure is not so great. When Surface launched, a source of mine at Microsoft told me that they were going to ship millions of units into the market in time for the holidays. And
the Surface Pro.
Yeah, the Bloomberg story that is the source of this new information says that they had placed an order for 3 million units, which puts a firmer number on what I had heard. And that they clearly have not sold,
Yeah.
anywhere close to that. So we already know that some of these sales were disappointing to start off with. The RT thing maybe not be the right product and so forth. So I think the easy way to say this is that in a quarter in which Apple sold 20-something million iPads, Microsoft sold about 1 million Windows RT tablets. So not great, I would say, for RT.
But let's compare it to something else. Other than the iPad, how is it stacking up against every other tablet that is out other than an iPad?
It's hard to break down tablet sales into individual models.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Microsoft doesn't compete with one model of Samsung or something. They compete with the whole market. So I think the way you have to look at this is just tablet market share by platform. And so, Windows, which arguably could be Windows 8 plus RT or just Windows RT compared to Android or iOS is obviously not doing very well. So,
yeah.
But I wrote a story about this, not about this exact thing, but rather about PC sales and tablet sales and so forth earlier in the week. And actually, maybe I should bring it up because one of the things that comes to light here is that when you look forward, let me just find the story before I. Yeah, so IDC came out with their predictions for tablet sales for the next several years. And IDC had previously come out with similar numbers or similar report rather for PC sales for the next several years. And when you combine tablet plus PC sales, which people like to do because it's fair to say that the iPad competes with PCs and vice versa, something really interesting happens. Combined sales of PCs and tablets, Windows is number one by far. It's not even close.
Mm-hmm.
And so this year, if you look at 90% of all PCs run Windows plus whatever Windows tablets, you're talking about 320 million Windows devices that will sell this year compared to 93 million Android devices and 88 million iPads. And that's not smartphones, right? This is tablets plus PCs because, again, those things are actually comparable. It doesn't matter if they're it's like comparing car and truck sales.
Well, the Surface Pro is a PC. I mean,
yes, but these things are still comparable.
Yeah,
they're still vehicles, if you will. In other words, when somebody goes to buy a car, they're not going to choose between a Corolla and a Ford F-150 necessarily. But that doesn't mean that those things can't be compared. That 320 million figure is 90% of PC sales for this year because Windows 90% market share, plus all Windows-powered tablets. That's what the 320 million figure is.
Did you see that story? I forgot who it was, but they were saying, I forgot one of the major OEMs, they were saying Windows 8 is to blame for the lack of PC sales.
Yeah, well, I mean, PC sales dropped. I mean, a little bit,
But would you blame Windows for that? I don't think it has anything to do with Windows.
I mean, I listen, they could have come out with Windows 7.5 and it wouldn't have rejuvenated the market either. I think the important thing to remember about Windows 8 is that this is really an example of Microsoft moving very quickly to get something out that they think will work with this new hybrid market for devices that includes both tablets and PCs, which is why we're comparing these things. The interesting thing about this, though, is when you go forward in time to 2017, those combined Windows sales, PC plus tablet, jumps to 380 million units, still twice as big as either Android or iPad.
Yeah.
And so in that year, IDC says that there'll be over 160 million Android devices, which is less than half of 380 million, and there'll be about 152 million iPads. So, it's all doom and gloom. Windows is going down the tubes. PCs suck, yada, yada, yada. But the truth is, PCs still outsell tablets by a huge margin and will for the foreseeable future. And people seem to forget that all the time.
Sure. Yeah.
The PCs have been around for 30 years. It's a really mature market. It's a little unfair to make this comparison. And yet when we do, PCs still kill devices. Not when you include the smartphone, right? And I think there is an argument you could make because some people will pick up a smartphone and not use a PC or other device. Like they'll use that as their only computing device. But that gets, again, if we can stretch the metaphor a little bit, it's like comparing sales of bicycles or motorcycles to cars. At some point, you have to draw a line at some point. I mean, do people who buy a motorcycle not buy a car sometimes? Yes. Okay, yes. Most motorcycle users also have a car. And so I think that's the differentiator here.
But Paul, let me ask you this question. Let's say HP, whatever the high-end, $1,000 Ultrabook is, right?
Yeah.
How many of those do you think they moved in the first quarter?
Well, we're still in the quarter, so
okay. So how many of them do you think they've moved since January? Do you think they have moved? I mean,
I don't know what you're asking. I'm not sure what you mean. Like
we're talking about this 400,000 number for the Surface Pro, right?
Right.
So let's compare it to an OEM selling a flagship Ultrabook.
I tried to find this information actually.
I don't know if they.
You very rarely hear those exact numbers. Sometimes when you look at the sales charts for like the best-selling PCs in the past, it would always be this esoteric HP device. It would be like the number one seller was like an HP Pavilion DC 1080 TTV blah blah blah, and then the number two one was like an HP Pavilion DV. It was the exact same thing, but one number was off.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to say. I can tell you that in the scheme of like how does this compare? In other words, is the Surface Pro like one of the best-selling PC models?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Or how about
actually? So for those 30 days, by the way, for those 30 days, I bet it was, in fact, the best.
Me too. I mean, so if you look at it like this, if it's the top-selling PC...
Yeah, the reason that the PC market is so much bigger than everything else is because there are lots of PCs from lots of companies. Just like the reason that Android is such a big deal is, same thing.
Does Apple ever release how many MacBook Pros that they're selling? Like how many MacBook Pro? Like I would like to know their number for like the first quarter average. How many MacBook Pro Retinas did they sell?
No, they will never do. No, they don't usually do that kind of differentiation unless it's like a new, like when the iMac comes out, they'll say, oh, we sold 1 million iMacs in the first quarter or something like that. But no, Apple will break down sales sometimes different ways. They'll say things like, they will say we sold 5.5 million Macs in the quarter. And then on the conference call, they'll say 57 or 70% of the Macs that we sold were portables. And you can draw they'll say something like, our best-selling Mac was has long been the 13-inch non-Retina MacBook Pro for some reason. It's not something that's consistent. You don't get the same exact breakdown every single quarter, so it's kind of hard to say. I can tell you that 400,000 units in 30 days. By the way, a machine that is very expensive. I would argue is kind of a niche kind of a product in many ways. Well, it's really like $1,200 because you want to get the keyboard and
$1,200, and it's not really the most efficient device that they could have put out.
It's entering a market where the average selling price of a PC laptop, $425. So it's three times as expensive almost. And they sold 400,000. There was a lot of demand for this device. It's very interesting. Now, that said,
was it the consumer or is it enterprise that's buying it?
No, these are people buying these things. I do think that there'll be some businesses that buy these things in bulk, although there's been no story about any business doing that. This is people going into the store, waiting in line, or ordering it online and getting it in the mail. Actual individuals. That there's a demand for this device that is pretty amazing, or was for 30 days. So that's the thing. I mean, in other words, do the next 30 days equal another 400,000 units? I bet they don't. I bet it goes down to like 200. And I think it settles into a small number eventually. But interesting that there was enough consumer excitement about this device.
I'm actually surprised that there was that much consumer interest into the device.
Yeah,
because the RT got such a bad.
Yeah, I do wonder sometimes if they shouldn't have released this one first and how different that might have been.
Or if they released them both at the same time.
Yeah.
Because you know what? You would have had many people going in there to buy the RT. They would have realized the limitation of the RT and they would have bought a Surface Pro.
Yeah, okay. By the way, the reverse could also be true. People would have gone in thinking they want the big, PC one, but then they see how thin and light the other one is and what the battery life is like, and they're like, actually, it's not so hard.
Would we be having this discussion if Microsoft released, and again, back to the same discussion, released a just, Windows Phone for the tablet? Would this discussion, this comparison be happening with PC sales and the Pro sales compared to the RT sales? I don't think we'd be talking about this. We would actually be comparing a tablet to a tablet. But because it's such a niche device, who do you compare it with?
Well, that's why I think I already made my case for why I think PCs and tablets, we can combine them. there are these edge cases because in the sales are skewed by the fact that most of those sales going forward will be smaller devices.
Like
they actually skew high. Those devices don't compete with PCs necessarily. Those devices are going to be used like consumption devices.
You did a review on the Lenovo ThinkPad Tablet 2 on your website?
Well, I did a first impression.
And this is it's a pretty, I haven't read it fully, forgive me, Paul, because I try to stay up on what you're doing.
Yeah, I don't.
This is a pretty device.
It is, but it's funny. Like this thing is so small. It's such a weird size.
How big is it?
It's smaller than a Surface RT.
It's a 10 inch, yeah.
10-inch screen. It's
I mean, it's nice.
I don't have the Kindle in here. I bet it's about the same size as the Kindle Fire 8.9.
And it actually snaps into place with the keyboard.
That's the thing. It actually does not.
Oh, it sits there.
It rests on it.
Yeah.
And to see that little contraption they have in the back to hold it up.
Yeah, look at that.
It's such a weird ThinkPad part. Lots of wires. It's a weird.
I like all the wires.
It's really weird. Like
You're a jerk, Paul.
Well, no. I mean, look at that. So the keyboard has a battery in it.
Yeah, look at that.
It has nothing to do with the device. It's just for the keyboard. So you got to keep that keyboard could stop working, if it's not powered. So you can plug it into the device, even though they don't connect in any other way.
Love that. But this is such a Paul move, though. Like, I love the fact that you took all the wires and you just put it on top of it.
Well, look, this is what you're gonna have to look. If you're gonna travel with this thing,
it's a pain in the ass. Yeah.
What the hell is this? It's something to think about.
You just killed it for me. I wanted this.
Oh, what?
I wanted
you need to know that.
No, the wires. Now it's all over.
I'm not trying to make them look bad. This is the reality of it.
Now those wires just made me sick.
You get the thing. Well, you get the keyboard. And you're like, how does this connect? What is this thing?
But again, this is a far more, and it's crazy. Like even with all that, like I find this more appealing of a device than the Surface.
Oh, I don't know.
I mean, I haven't used it, so I've used the Surface.
RT, if that thing had been Clover Trail,
it would have been good.
That would be an incredible portable computer.
But how do you compete? I mean, the Surface is their flagship, right? The Surface is like the this is what every one of these devices should be like. This is what it should look like. Don't screw it up, OEMs.
Yes,
but
exactly.
When you have a $429 touchscreen Lenovo or Asus that's really thin, it's ultrabook thin, plasticky, doesn't have the ultrabook specs, but it kind of looks and feels like one.
That device doesn't exist.
No, it does exist.
A $429 touchscreen.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh God! One of my friends got it. I can't. It's either a Lenovo or an Asus?
I mean, like the Vivo Tab something.
It's not the Vivo. It might be the Vivo Tab. Yeah, it's like $429.
There's an HP device that's really small, like an 11-inch screen, that is, I think, is touch based. That could be in that price range. That's okay. Yeah, it's okay.
$429, but how do you compete with that? That's going to be a very difficult thing to compete with because people are going in there. They're not thinking about, well, my touchscreen experience is going to be a little bit better if I spend $300 more.
Well, obviously,
I'm trying to find
these devices that are tablets are a little bit different. I mean, that $429 device, if the screen popped off and was a tablet, that would be a completely different discussion. But the reason that those things are competitive is because you pay more for a device that is, in fact, a removable screen and works as a tablet and all that stuff. I mean, so I'm actually okay with there being like this range of prices and range of capabilities and so forth, range of form factors. But the problem is we're still selling like $299, $399, $499 non-touch Windows 8 PCs. And, I think the way that unfortunately for Microsoft, the way that licensing for Windows works, I don't think they really could have forced people, I mean like PC makers, to ship only touch devices. And God knows that might have killed the market even further. But you have to wonder if that wouldn't have been a better thing for people if these PC makers had been forced to do that.
I believe it's a Vivo Book.
Okay.
The Vivo Book. I believe he's $449. Believe it is. Let's see. Now I'm curious on what the pricing is on this newegg.com. I mean that's a very good price point to be at. And I regret, not waiting and getting my wife something like that. Well, the Vivo book is actually $5.99, but he said it was $4 something. Maybe he got. I think there is an HP device that I've seen at Best Buy that is an 11-inch screen. It's just a laptop, like the screen doesn't come off, and I want to say it's in the $400 to $500 price range, which is, it's a nice looking little machine. I'll see if I can find it, but. It's a fascinating time right now. I mean, it's just a 481 Vivo book. I mean, not bad at all. It's a very interesting time for anybody that is into this stuff because we are seeing the shift and we're seeing the change. Yeah, and it's exciting again. Like for a while, I was kind of bored with everything that was coming out. Now I'm excited to see what's next.
That's, when Windows 8 was first coming out, I sort of described it as this mess, but it was kind of a wonderful mess. And that's what I'm talking about. In other words, the PC market had gotten very stale. I mean, it's not hard to imagine what, some company's next Ultrabook is going to look like. But once you start adding multi-touch features and pens and contorting screens and flip around hybrids and all that kind of stuff, it's interesting again. And it gives us that thing that we're missing right now in the smartphone market because at some point you hit a wall where there's nowhere to go from sort of an innovation standpoint, and you can just make little evolutionary changes. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, when you're into technology for technology's sake or whatever, when it's literally the journey, or it is the reward, not the journey.
Paul, would you say your experience is going to be better if it's a touchscreen device?
On Windows 8?
Yeah. Like a laptop. Like you get a laptop. Would you say you have you're going to have a...
Right. So in other words, my laptop right now is a Samsung Ultrabook. And if I could have that exact same machine with touch, I would choose that over the non-touch version. Yes, absolutely.
I try Windows 8 on an everyday basis, and this is my problem with it. Mm-hmm. I'm not forced to use it every day. Therefore, I can't let go of a couple of the things that I've been doing with computers for 20 years, 15 years.
Yeah.
I'm having that issue, but my wife uses Windows 8 every day, and she uses the Mac at work because her job is all Apple. So that's what happens now. It's all Apple. And she really likes Windows 8, but she came to me, she goes, "Hey, Andrew, I want to ask you something." Okay, what? She goes, "Can you take this stuff off that you put on here?" And I go, "What do you mean?" She goes, This thing. I just want to use Windows."
This thing.
And I go,
"That's great."
I go, "This thing is Windows." She goes, and she's like, no. Like, how do I get to my programs? Like, she was looking for the start menu for the first time in 6 months.
Okay, so I just had dinner last night with a friend of mine, and he's not a tech guy at all. He's a scientist, actually, but he can't stand the Mac for various reasons. I don't want to get into that, but
you heard it here first, guys. Scientists hate Apple.
This particular one hates Macs. Well, he's a logical person. That might
actually, and I'm a very illogical person. So,
but he just got a Windows 8 PC. He uses Windows 7 at work, and he was talking. He kind of mentioned this in passing, and I said, "Hold on, stop." I said, "So, you've got Windows 8. I mean, what?" And he says, "Look," he goes, "I went into Best Buy. I looked at the different machines. I talked to someone. I don't know if they knew what they were talking about or not, but he's like, basically." It comes up with this screen that's got like all these, pictures on it. And then if you hit the right one, you go back to what it looked like in Windows 7, and I can get to work in there, and it's fine, And for me, that was a very kind of nonchalant view of what a lot of people are complaining about endlessly, which is like, why do I have to put up with this start screen? Why do I have to do this? I mean, he didn't even question why it was there. He just sort of approached it like, well, they put this thing on there, and I click on the right thing, and then I get back to work, and I'm okay with that. And some people are able to get on with life like that, which I just found very interesting. And some people, they stop thinking right there. They're like, no, this doesn't look like the other thing. I can't use this.
The application she was looking for was Paint, out of all things.
Right.
She was looking for Paint, and it's such a simple thing. And she came to me, and she's like, "Where's Paint?" I'm like, that's a very good question. Where is paint?
Show her Fresh Paint.
Huh?
There's a Fresh Paint app. It's like a
Yeah.
Metro.
Yeah, she could use the Metro app, and so what I did, I'm like, look, you take the mouse here, you put it here, you get the search thing, you click on search and you write paint, then you'll find it.
Yeah.
And to her, she's like, oh, okay, that's good. But I think that it's moments like that where people either say, okay, I'm going to figure out how to do this, or what the hell's wrong with this? I can't even find paint.
Yeah.
You could go both ways on that thing.
I think a lot of the angst over Windows 8, though, is us. It's the techie people. I'm basing this on absolutely nothing but my opinion, so I just want to be clear about that. But we live in this little bubble where we talk and talk and talk and complain and complain and complain and debate, and maybe this is not a big issue in the real world. I think I told you the story about my wife I put Windows 8 in a laptop for her, got right to work. A couple weeks went by. She never complained about anything, never asked. And I finally went to her and I said, "What's going on? How's Windows 8?" And she said, "Oh, it's fine. No problem at all." And the one thing she didn't like was Office. Like for some reason, she didn't like the new Office.
Really? I
Yeah.
like the new Office. It's nice.
I know. Like to me, like going from Office 2010 to Office 2013, non-event.
Yeah.
Completely easy. And going from Windows 7 to Windows 8, that I would understand.
Major,
people
yeah.
saying, what the hell happened here? But for her, it was the opposite. She's like, "Oh yeah, no problem. I can get stuff done."
Paul, you know what bothers me the most about Windows? When
No.
and you maybe it's in Windows 8 and I don't even know it. When you hit print screen, how do you print the screen? How do you take a screenshot?
You do. You hit print screen.
Okay, and then what do you do?
So in Windows 8, there's a new way to do it, but you paste it into Paint.
Okay. I don't want to
Control
do
V.
that. Like on the Mac, I hit Command Shift
And it
4
saves it.
and
All right.
boom, done on my desktop, screenshot finished.
Right.
How do
Right.
I
So
do
in
that on
Windows-
Windows 8?
You hit Windows key plus print screen.
Really?
Yep.
Genius.
But it saves it into a screenshots folder in the pictures library.
Can you do that on Windows 7?
Nope.
No. Okay. So that is now we know why I had to find paint for my wife. She needed to print the screen. I had no idea. Brilliant.
That begs the question.
But do you know that's one of the smallest things in Windows that have bothered me for years, that I can't just hit the button
the
and do it?
ability to take a screenshot is not a, it's not a very common.
I take like 40 screenshots a day of random things.
By the way, I do too. So
I'm joking, by the way. I don't.
I take screenshots all day long.
Yeah.
And I actually, not always, but almost always just use the old way, because the one thing I like about the old way of capturing is you can do like Alt, print screen to capture a window. So
Very exciting stuff. Very, very exciting stuff, Paul. Print screen. Now I learned
Print screen.
something. Windows and print screen will actually take a snapshot of your screen and you could have it in your pictures folder.
This and many other Windows 8 tips can be found on my website.
Yeah, winsupersite.com. If you're looking for any kind of Windows tip, go to Paul. I feel so stupid now with Windows. I really do. And I come off, that was such a stupid question for me to ask. And I'm going to get the emails like, "Oh yeah, you're not a Mac fanboy. You don't even know how to print screen on a Windows machine." Listen, I use everything. I'm happy. I'm happy with everything. Give me Linux. I'll be happy with that
those
too.
things. I have used a Mac a lot and know about the Mac keyboard shortcut as well, and that it saves it to the desktop and all that. And I use that on the Mac. I mean, it's fine. But most people don't have to know stuff like this. And moving back and forth between two platforms is very difficult because of these small differences.
No, it is. And for me, it's gotten even more difficult because I've been using a Mac as my everyday machine. And I bought a Mac so I could experience a Mac. I didn't buy it to have it as my everyday machine. And it took me a while. It took me about a year and a half to start using the Mac regularly. And I kind of was forced into it because my Windows machine broke. And now it's like a 70% shift over to the Mac, and the rest of the time I'm using my production machines for Windows. So it's interesting going back and forth, and the little things here and there that really are the disconnects for someone.
Yeah.
So don't judge me, Paul. Please don't judge. I know you do.
Judge.
I know you do.
Silently judging.
I know you do. You know what I'm going to do next time? And next time we go out drinking with Mary Jo, I'm going to show up and I'm going to have Ubuntu running on my phone.
Actually, I believe that you might try that.
Yeah, I think I will. We normally record the show for people watching now for the first time. We normally record the show Tuesdays at 4 p.m. I forgot. Tuesdays at 4 p.m. East. We haven't done the show in 2 weeks.
Sometime in the afternoon.
Sometime in the afternoon, where Paul and I sit down, we talk about technology. We will be back to our regular schedule this week. So if you tune in Tuesday, we'll be live doing our show like normal. Mm-hmm. I like the Fridays, but the thing about Friday is that by Thursday, I'm exhausted. We have 4 shows on Thursdays.
Yeah, by this time on a Friday, I'm like winding down.
Yeah, and we do have a tech show on Fridays for people that want to watch technology, don't want to watch Paul, but they want to watch me, which isn't many people. We know we're all here for Paul. I'm here for Paul. We do a show called Tech News Weekly where we discuss everything that happened in technology for the week. We have a panel of great tech experts like Michael Manna and John Bubb that does a show every week with me. And you can watch that. We're normally on Fridays. We've skipped this week because we're doing What the Tech. So everything will be back to normal next week. But Paul, do you want to say anything before I let you go back to bed? Anything you want to add to this that we've discovered today on this adventure we've been on? Paul, the podcast.
Well, you changed your lights, and I feel bad that
I did.
didn't notice that. Actually, you know what I feel bad the most about is that you didn't give me the chance to notice it.
Oh, you're turning it around on me now.
See?
Yeah, you're very good at this. Very good. I have to use that, actually.
I've been married a long time. I understand how this works.
I have to use that. What color, before we wrap it up, what color would you like to see behind me? Would you like to see green for St. Patrick's Day? There we go. We're all green now. St. Patrick's Day green. There we go. I hope everybody has a safe St. Patrick's Day. If you're going out drinking, remember, call a cab, or like my father told me once. This is the best advice my father gave me, and I'm going to wrap the show up with this. If you're ever too drunk to drive, make sure you cover one eye, and if you have to vomit, throw up in a hat and bury it in the snow. I kid you not, that is a true story. And we'll see you all next week on What the Tech. Good night, everybody.